Call the meeting to order. Stand for pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Get that bald spot.
Is it fixed?
Yeah, it's done. Approval / amendment of meeting agenda items. It was as presented.
I move approve the board meeting items for February 26th, 2020 as presented.
It's been moved to approve the board meeting agenda items for February 26, 2020 as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of minutes.
I move to approve the minutes for February 12th, 2020 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of February 12th, 2020 as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Correspondence.
I have none, sir.
Public comment. Reports. 7.1.
Okay, we have been finishing up some report collection of data for our House Bill 3499 grant, which is concluding this year. At the elementary level, one of the data collections that we did was we asked our teachers to do 3 common assessments in math. They had to score them, agree to do the exact same assessments and then score them the same, and then compared how they scored them, collect that data for EL learners. We did it for everyone, but collect it for EL learners and look at growth. That was one of the growth reports that they wanted. We have until September 30th, correct me if I'm wrong, to expend the last bit of these funds. So we're hoping that we can, anything that we have extra, that maybe we can carry over that some professional development, that in-service week. So that's why I'm a little bit passionate about those in-service days, is that I'm hoping to have a little bit of funding there to get some training done. Our last few early release Wednesdays, we worked on a review of a new math curriculum. We've been looking at math curriculum for a couple of years. ODE delayed their language arts adoption, so we have looked at Big Ideas as a new math curriculum and Bridges. The elementary staff would like to go forward with, when we have the funding, to go forward with Big Ideas curriculum, which creates a K through 12 consistent curriculum. We didn't, when we adopted math curriculum last time, the publishers did not have a K through 5 product for us to look at. They do now. We've looked at it for about a year and a half now, and the teachers are ready to go forward with that when we're ready. We've also worked on the reunification plan on early release Wednesdays. Dusty's come down and presented that to the staff. We've worked through some problem areas we might have in doing a drill this year. Jill Harlan has been working with our staff. She's come by a couple different times. Best practices during cold and flu season. Now we're kind of going into a new realm with the coronavirus. February 20th, our 4th grade kids went to the Farm Expo in Klamath, and our music teachers are both younger teachers, but they were very brave. They took our 5th graders to Bend to the Children's Symphony, and the kids were really excited about it. They had a good time. February 27th, we have a Student of the Month Assembly at Union. February 28th are PBIS assemblies at Fremont Hay at 8:30 and 9:30. We have dental services coming out to Union. We had a really big bunch in the fall. They couldn't get to everybody, so they're doing Union's dental services on March 6th. They'll be out there. They'll go out there. Normally we have to bus the kids to town, but they couldn't get to them, so they're going out there. March 12th, the Oregon Coast Aquarium is coming to visit all of our elementary schools. So excited about that. They always do a really great job. They have big, huge blow-up killer whales, all kinds of cool stuff. We've been discussing with Janet and our maintenance crew about how to best serve the kids that we have and the increase with the space that we've got. We did some tours the other day. We kind of looked at how cramped Fremont is and some of Hay. So we've been kind of putting our heads together and trying to figure out with the most minimal amount of remodeling, how we can squash some kids in some more classrooms and kind of make that a more workable space. We have gotten some articles back and forth from Will with the infusion of the SIE dollars. We're trying to plan for more teachers and reducing those classroom sizes, but also recognizing that if Van LaPine's hiring 125 teachers, we're going to have a teacher shortage across the state as well. And what other things can we do with that money? and what else can we do to serve our students and these large classrooms, kind of thinking of Plan B as well. So that's what's been going on down there. Do you guys have any questions?
How big was the tour? How did you get on the tour? How large was it? It was
No, it was, no, on that
It
tour,
wasn't just me.
when I referenced tours before, I was talking about the ones we did with the board about kind of our
I thought
overcrowding.
maybe you got some community members to go on it.
No, and then the tour about remodeling and doing some things is just Janet.
It's just me.
Maintenance a little bit, but just Janet. So, thank you.
Wrong tour.
Okay, well, I have us registered for 4 job fairs, so they're starting up here pretty soon. So I will, me, Chris, and possibly Susan, or a combination of the 3 of us, will be going to the Southern Oregon University Job Fair, the Eastern Oregon University Job Fair, the Bend Pine Job Fair, and the Boise State University Job Fair. 2 of those will require some overnight travel, but it'll all be good. I'm kind of excited about that piece there. Received 2 applicants for the Spanish job. Both applicants are currently living outside the United States, but we'll look at some things and see where that's at. Waiting to see maybe some job fairs, so I'll still keep that opening. No other hits on the other jobs as of yet. Some cool things happening at the school. Horticulture and floriculture are down here in the greenhouses doing stuff. Pretty excited about that. The kids came back. I caught a bunch coming back and I go, how's it going? And they're like, hey, stuff's growing. So that's pretty neat. That stuff's growing down there. Hopefully it's the right stuff. And, thanks to Janet and her crew building up that other greenhouse also, and all of Renee's hard work. We're welding in the welding lab. And I got kids welding everywhere. Both the teachers have been really creative to get some stuff going. We should have here pretty soon. Our tips for our gas welders are a little too big. And so when they're trying to run beads with their current tips on the torches, it's just putting out too much gas and oxyacetylene. So we've ordered some new tips to make that a little bit better. But you go in there and there's at least 1 kid in every welding booth on the east wall. And then we have 3 or 4 partitioned off with the portable little rattle can welders too. And so welding, air quality is definitely better than last year. Still trying to figure out some things and tweak some things. The good weather's also allowed us to open the doors. Still working on some things, but I'm excited. Kids are welding, so that's a good piece for us. What does that say? Oh my gosh. Can't even read my own handwriting, so I'll have to come back to that. Erie Cup's going. Oh, okay, got Erie Cup's going. Erie Cup. Kids are doing their speeches. Got some good ones. I'm excited to see what rolls out of that. Mrs. Mize's leadership class, every kid has to do a beautification project or some sort of community service. And I got 2 young ladies that have taken on fixing the front of the gym where it says Honkers and the Honker. And I'm pretty excited about that because they also have a good mentor who's helping them. And so you may see for a week possibly the letters down and the honker down, but we're putting up new letters because the letters are a foam product. And we don't think we can take them off and repaint them. So we're going to go with a plywood product for the letters, and then we're going to redo the honker, which is a plywood product. So we're going to get that done. So I'm excited about that. And then probably next to all the wild and craziness, and it happens every year, somewhere at the end of February and by the end of March, there's a spike in just wild and craziness. And it always happens. You can go back and look at data from when Mr. Cahill was a principal all the way up through. It always hits. There's about a 3-week window, no matter where you're at, that it just explodes. But the one that just caught me off guard until she walked into my office on Monday, I said, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that, is Chalice came to me and said, hey, we got some concerns on our Europe trip. I go, coronavirus? She's like, yeah. She goes, the first town that we're flying into and the first country we're going to is Italy, where it just shut down. So that being said, we don't know quite what we're going to do with that trip. It's not refundable. The only way it may be refundable is if they declare a state level 3 emergency. I don't think anybody's going to do that. It's a virus. Well, the people I've talked to uptown at the health department, the flu kills 80,000 people a year. It's a virus. So we have some options of what we can do, and we're going to meet with the parents tomorrow night at 5:15. The options that they're giving us right now is miss Italy, go to Germany, and then finish the other countries, which are slowly but surely popping up with their own concerns in Europe. Go to a South America trip. Well, the kids picked Europe. They want to do the Europe trip, so I don't think we're going to do the South America trip. Or go later, like in the summertime. So that's where we're at on that trip there. But there is some concern on what would happen with these kiddos. We got a handful of seniors. They go, they get quarantined there, or they come back and they quarantine. And the process has been right now 14 days at home. How do you make that work educationally? What do you do? Do you 504 them? Do you drop them? It's a mess. And you're talking about kids, daily fun. So, anyways, we're going to come up with some ideas tomorrow night and see what we have. I'm keeping Mr. Cahill apprised on that.
I saw an email today. I reached out to ODE today, and they're supposed to come out with some protocols, guidelines, and everything else tomorrow. Hope Gill, the Assistant Superintendent of Public Instruction, is meeting today with whoever the head is of the Oregon Department of Health. So I'll keep you up to speed on that.
Is it the same tour group that was doing the DC?
It's a different tour group, a different tour company.
Because I know in the DC trips you could elect whether to have that insurance that if you couldn't make it for whatever reason was.
But the insurance, the insurance only covers if it's a category or whatever it's called, level 3. Has to be a level 3, according to the
Maybe
group
that
we're
group.
working with right now.
Yeah, DC was different. It was-
And then the company we're with, they say there's probably no way they would refund unless something like that happened. So it's about $4,000 per person on this trip.
Because the DC one was
In state, maybe a little bit different.
it was you had to elect to pay more to have it.
Okay.
So there may be, I don't know if that's possible if people have.
I know a couple people have bought trip insurance and they checked and they said no, only if it becomes a level 3. So we're gonna have to go somewhere more than likely to get our money back, unless somebody says at a high government site says level 3 or whatever. We'll work on that. The other issue is the CDC came out last night or this morning. One that had people in the news said call your schools and ask them what they would do in case it happened. I'm like, thanks, lady. That's what we need. Is all these phone calls. What are you going to do? And they said, well, hopefully your school's looking into tele-school or distance schools, what they're calling it, internet school. You'll be curious to see. We have had a parent ask about our Avid trip that's leaving next month also, that's going up to Washington and coming back down. They said, are you guys really going on that trip? And we're like, yeah, we're going. Unless somebody above us says we can't. So we are paying attention, watching it. I'll give more feedback to Mr. Cahill after Thursday's meeting on the Europe trip. And choir, my choir. If you've not heard the choir kids sing at the last 2 home football games, the national anthem was amazing. And then if you, like me, grew up in the 80s, you either admit it or you're a closet Metallica fan. You gotta come to the next choir concert. I don't even know when it is, but they are singing an a cappella Metallica song that is amazing. And then I heard another song today, and I can't remember the name, but the high school choir is just bringing it. Hats off to them, Mrs. Kohut. If you can, please make that concert just for the Metallica
I will
song.
throw something out. Please make sure they don't do it on a board meeting night.
I'll try.
The last 2 concerts they've
So
done
many
with board
years
meeting
now.
nights.
It's always been Wednesday night, so I don't know how we're gonna make it
Yeah,
happen.
they did the first and third instead of the second or the fourth.
Okay, that's it.
Girls basketball. Oh, go ahead.
I'll be good. Go ahead, sports.
Yeah. So we can start with basketball. So girls basketball goes to Union tomorrow for their state game. They're the 15th seed playing number 2. Wrestlers also leave tomorrow. We're sending 4 wrestlers to state as well. We got a pretty good shot. We've got some top finishers, 2 top finishers in the second place here with the district level. Going to Portland to wrestle. funny thing is, if we win at Union, our girls will travel to Pendleton for the state tournament. We could play Lost River in the very next game again. But all league selections were made for basketball. They won't be released until the teams are out of the tournament. But we have several boys and girls that made first, second, and honorable mention teams as well. Spring sports are kind of winding up. You can see them out there already. Pitchers and catchers have been out there for 10 days now. I don't have numbers from Bobby, but she's got a pretty good turnout there. Baseball has 23 signed up. Softball had 19 signed up. Jamie Ludwig with middle school track is going to start after spring break, she said. That said, the parent meeting for spring sports will be next Thursday the 5th. For middle school track will be the 12th. Rankings aren't out for baseball and softball yet. That'll be when the first contest dates hit. But remember, our girls finished top 4 last year. We ended up losing to the championship winning team, which we're going to play in preseason. So it'll be exciting to see how it rolls out this spring with everything. Let's see here. The OSAA and the Ad Hoc Football Committee are looking at transitioning all schools that play football at the 2A level to a 9-man game, potentially 2 years down the road, looking at finishing this 4-year block of timeout and going to 9-man across the 2A ranks if you play at the 2A level. That would still keep alive 6-man and 8-man football for 1A schools, depending on how big they were. And then if a 2A school like us wanted to play 11-man games, at that point we would play up to 3A. That decision hasn't been finalized yet, but every time I go to an AD meeting, that's a hot topic of conversation. But for the most part, the favor is in making a change to ensure that these programs stay alive at the 2A level and that there are JV teams and games as well. And so doing that all around and keep the kids out there. I'm using the 9-man, it's not too much of a change from the 11-man game, rather than going from 11 to 8-man. Yeah, and that's all I've written down. Questions? Interesting to see what happens with that.
But that's a couple years out as far as
Most likely. Lost River's dropping down now. Lost
I
River is no longer in our
heard-
special district.
yeah,
but
I
we
heard
gained
that.
Brandon and Coquille. So we actually gained a league football game.
So, is there opportunity to do like we did when we played Coquille, when it wasn't a league game, and try and find an in-between place to play?
It wasn't a league game. It would be a 2-year commitment, I would think, because it would be a league game, right? We would both have to forfeit our home league game advantage. It's a lot of work to put that together.
Have you driven to Coquille
I think
in Bandon?
teams would want to do their home game. But I think a good option is to play Saturday.
Lost River's no longer in our league for football.
Going to 1A.
They're losing like 9 seniors. They don't have enough kids.
They're going from like a 30, 38, 39 senior class to an average of 20, but their current sophomore junior class has hardly any student athletes. They're not going to have the numbers.
They're going like bonanza.
But weren't they the top #1 team in the league? And they're dropping
The
this
last 2 years.
There was a funny face by one of the people sitting behind the OSAA desk yesterday when someone said, "Oh, Lost River's going down," and the face, yeah, but it is what it is.
So
They, like you said, graduated a lot. I don't think we can anticipate them being a powerhouse at that level, but they have committed to playing 9-man. Well, I say committed. That's what they want to do, is play 9-man
When
back
the
with
change
the
is
Southern
made.
Cascade League when the change is made. They were all for it happening next year. And if that had been the case, then maybe it would have stayed. But they're just small, yeah. But we'd anticipate them coming back 2 years and joining the SCL, or Special District 4.
Yeah, they're
So
Not really a Cascade.
Oh,
loading
we-
up seniors.
we're now on the verge of going to a 3A.
We're right on the edge.
Yeah, so if we get some more, people moving into town, we could end up over the cap anyways, and then not even able to appeal it down to 2.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would imagine we're going up to a 3A sooner than later.
It just depends on if they continue to keep that free and reduced lunch piece. I think the more and more you still have people aware of that, should get our high school parents to sign up for it, because I don't think we have 70% of our high school parents signing their kids up for it. I think that number might always keep us at the edge. I'll be curious to see what they do in 2 years as far as moving the numbers around on cutoff, because I think with the 9-man game coming, they might adjust the numbers differently. We may not have a choice but to go 3A, or we might be safer. But I think it all depends. Every 4 years, I think it's a crapshoot.
But I think regardless of the classification we're in, football is one of those that we have more flexibility to play. I mean, just like Lost River, they're definitely powerhouse in 2A, and they're dropping to 1 because of other factors. And we could find ourselves staying in 2A for football and 3A and other things.
So like Union, the team the girls played Friday, they're 2A, 1A in football, 2A in everything else.
I think that's what Lost River's going to do, right?
That sounds that way.
That's what their plan is 1A for football only.
I mean, both their boys and girls won basketball back to back this year.
But once again,
They're
they're loaded
graduating
up
class.
with seniors,
Seniors.
and there's classes come and don't have the
For 2 years. For 2 years, they have
until you get the freshman class.
pretty small class, just the whole school in general, not just student athletes.
Mr. Rose, how's the fall sports schedule looking?
We need to settle on some dates for some volleyball tournaments, but other than that, it's pretty good. Soccer's done, football's done.
Are we able to pick up Alturas?
We're back on the 11th.
Okay.
Culver at the scheduling meeting yesterday in Wilsonville. We got Culver on the 18th. I can get us in Grant Union on the 25th.
Oh,
And then we start league play.
Better than this Brooking.
Yeah, pretty happy with that preseason. I'm bummed that we lose Burns because they are a good team, but they're a good team for us to have. Like we kept them to the least points scored last year. Just right on the edge year before last. Without the non-practice days and stuff like that, it might have been a different game with coaching turnover and stuff like that. So I wish we could have kept them. It just didn't work.
So Burns and I, like with Modoc, we'd all scheduled months ago. And Burns got back to me about a month ago and said, hey, our special district has been restructured. We can't play you on that date while we have a league game. And so we set another date. Oh, I can't do that either. And so even for them, it wasn't just us that had to drop them. They were restructured. I think at least 3 teams moved out of theirs, Erie again, and Riverside and someone else. But yeah, so there's a lot of fluctuation. It's not going to work. At least for a
Oh,
couple
getting
years.
that MODOK game back will be good.
Okay, Brandon, keep moving. Let's go to SIA report.
Well, trying to keep you up to date on this, we have moved quite a few things forward as far as complying with ODE requirements. I think we did a pretty good job on the community input piece. We rolled out that community survey for 2 weeks. I think we kicked it out late January, and then we compiled the data. By the way, Elena Bradbury is here tonight. She is our liaison to ODE. ODE as far as this student success at SIA, so she might chime in on wherever. But anyway, we had the meeting that night. Elena did a summary of it. Here it is right here. It looks like this. And basically, she tallied how many community members showed up, parents. We had a breakout Spanish-speaking session that was facilitated by Chris. And so the big thing is we're supposed to cover diversity and planning there to that line. I've got to give you credit, Andrew, so thank you for being there. But anyway, Chris did a fine job, engaging our Hispanic community. We went through the document here on the table, this document, and of the survey, we had 193 total participants in the survey. 54% were parents. Lane did a good job engaging some students in the survey, 27. 9% or 8% of our teachers, and classified employee involvement and everything else. It has our race and ethnicity piece. You can feel free to look at that at your leisure. We had grade level association. You see age 12 is a very good representative sample there. Once again, I thank Lane for that. But we did have some other grade levels engaged too, which I'm very happy to see that. Category groups, basically, like groups of poverty, navigating poverty, students, family of color. And we had our participants weigh in on that as far as where they fit into special populations. I think I'm going to move about 3 or 4 pages in the information that we needed as far as the priority from highest to lowest. Looks like this has the bar graphs. I'm just going to go straight to that. As far as the response from the parents, and there are 3 or 4 pages in. Sorry, I wish I put a page in there. I apologize for that. Out of that, 10%, as far as priorities, said safety and security was the number 1 choice. Facility upgrades, the second choice. Then the other one was smaller class sizes. As far as our discussions as administrators, those are our central focal points, and that is what we're focusing on. We're coming together at 10 o'clock tomorrow night to try to get that narrowed down. Barry's been in on some talk as far as the facilities piece. I reached out to the director of the SIA. These were his responses here. Basically, his response is the equity piece. You've got to be all things to all people. You got to make sure you're providing the same educational opportunities, the same programs, and make sure that all special groups, all races, all colors, you're providing an equal opportunity experience for each one of them as far as improving their education. I asked him on facilities. He said yes, you can. He puts it right there on the 3rd sentence down. This is not an easy yes or no. He said the facilities piece, if you're going to do things like put modulars down at 80 hay to relieve Susan on some class size, they're really going to scrutinize that. As far as our priority now is, we need more people, and like I said, the principals can weigh in on that. We need more teaching staff. The other thing that we decided as far as the health and safety piece, which is a priority with our public out there, possibly putting in an SRO, which we met with at the ESD the other day. Janet was there, the superintendents of North Lake and Paisley, Sheriff Taylor, and the town of Lakeview. Getting some SRO support in all the school buildings or the school districts in Lake County, and putting that into our buildings. So everybody, signed off. They agreed that yes, probably the SRO thing is a top priority as far as addressing student security, school security, and all that. And we're going to come back together again on March 19th and try to, finalize or rough out some details on that.
Student security, how come using the money for the security vegetables, the security vegetables at the gate here, I guess why can't you use it for that in each of the buildings? And
Well, once again, is the response solid yes or no? We really have to show a great amount of cause when I write the narrative that we have to have this, but where does it fit in their educational program? What is the educational benefit? Kind of their number 1 focus is the educational piece overall. And that's kind of the long and short of the answer that I got from Mr. 9 up at ODE.
So Mr. Cahill, part of that closing
Go
the
ahead.
gap. So they're looking at academics more in those areas, and so the funding is really supposed to help those students be able to achieve higher. I think that's part of why they're going to scrutinize certain things that might not fit that.
because I think in the answer I saw it says not the express intent of law for capital expenditure support, right? With the singular named exception on addressing student health and safety. So the exception is the health and safety. And if we're shutting down school because we have finding a note in the school and it takes us 3 days to figure out who that is because we can't secure our schools, to me, if we have the security entrances at our buildings, then we can maintain school continuity in the classroom for those days versus shutting it down. And that affects all students across the board. And I guess from an SRO standpoint, they ebb and flow, attrition through the job, who you're gonna get, one's gonna be better than the next one, and then the funding's gonna go away, and then you're gonna be out of a person, and then it's gonna come back, and you'll be able, the security features on the class, or on the entrances of our buildings are permanent structures that will be there regardless of whether this funding goes away or not. That's,
I would agree with you on a lot of what you said, Mr. Gustafson. The one concern is for the example you used with our threat note, the vegetable won't keep that student from coming in. Because we don't know at that who the student is or what's going on. So
maybe not in that specific instance, but it would provide security.
it would help with us on keeping known people from coming in or out, people we don't want or people we don't know. You know, and I agree with you on that, both of them. Working with an SRO, I think those SROs are. I just had so much positive with it. That would be, if I had my choice, I would go with SRO before the festival at the high school. I just for the high school, middle school, and that's just from a sheer experience piece.
I think the SRO is a critical piece in the prevention piece of the security aspect of it. But when it comes to an actual threat in the building, I mean, we saw what Marjorie Douglas Stoneman or whatever that was. It was no benefit whatsoever having an SRO on campus. I think there's a lot of pros and cons to all of it.
Paragraph number 1, this response from our man at ODE. Janet asked me this money, so she had a great concern about the sustainability piece. So that was my specific question. What about the sustainability? Is this going to be like your typical grant after 2 years? You're going to do these great things and the money's going to go away, or what's going to happen? He assures me that this is the law of the land now, and that it's a permanent piece, and that it's going to be around. And we're the state school fund. So until we have another, I fear another recession, and they have to cut money someplace, and this might be the first thing that they have. So anyway, that's contained in that paragraph. So pending that on that. So I'd like to say it's permanent. It's always going to be there. Nothing's ever going to change, but nothing for sure is certain.
Just have one more comment. When it comes to this funding carrying over year to year, I mean, obviously things can happen, and that this wonderful plan that's forever changes to not forever. But with that said, the SRO is a very specific training task person, and so I see that different than adding teachers. Not that teachers aren't specific in classes and studies, but we have a lot more teachers in our classrooms in our school district, and we have a fair amount of attrition every year. So even if we were to lose the funding, we would likely not get to the layoff stage because we've got people leaving every year for other things as well. And we
Attrition factor.
might be able to absorb that better. And so I would support adding teachers with those dollars, because I think we could, if it ever went away, we could absorb it.
Well, moving along, I'm probably 2/3 through writing the grant, and we'll make our final decisions as far as what our top priorities are. Then I'll write that piece of the grant. And a little later on in discussion, I sent you an email today about the fact that we need a first April meeting. We'll come to that later on, where you can give your approval and I can get it off to them.
I just want to tell the board, I know we all got ideas, security, and my thing that I've kind of been running up the flagpole with Mr. Cahill is after our walkthrough with the buildings, how about we plug some money into that third floor of DMS? and we get that where we got classrooms functional up there. We moved 6th grade from 80 Hay to up there. That helps with number 2 and number 3 on this, with facility upgrades and smaller class sizes, and gives a little bit more room down at 80 Hay, getting 6th grade out of there. But I don't know. There's only so much money to go around, because we know we need more teachers. We'd like to have more teachers, potential SRO. It's only a certain amount of money. So.
Well, I think that also can address some, at least for DMS, can address some safety security as well. If you're out putting money in there.
So anyway, it's just a thought, suggestion, but I don't know how far the money can go, and we got to figure out what the top priorities are.
What was it, 700,000?
697,000.
Excuse me.
I mean, we saw what that third floor looks like, maybe for 300,000. I don't know what that gets us. A piece of it anyway. Would that get us 4 classrooms and a 2
You
bathrooms?
got some input on that?
The plumbing's there. So I don't know if that's the top priority or not, but I just wanted to float that idea out there.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
That's my report.
Anything else on SIA? Okay. All right, financials.
So I talked to Evan about this shortage problem. It's apparently me, and I can't fix it off of this computer, so I asked for a new one. He said no. So anyway, so actual year-to-date revenues on the whole, we're kind of right about on target. We projected the 69%, and we're actually at 68% on a total for the general fund. Regarding your local sources, we're down a little bit. We projected 85%, almost 86%. We're at 80%, so that's all your local taxes, property taxes. And I do see that last year versus this year, we are a little bit behind with the collections, or we aren't behind with the collections, but the county is behind on the collections. So our turnover is also ripple effect. Our state sources were pretty much right on. Excuse me. We're actually a little bit higher, getting a little bit more of our state school fund, just because I went in and readjusted to kind of help out with this local sources piece. So dollar for dollar, remember, is your property taxes are taken away from your state school fund. And so I had readjusted that and realigned that a little bit. So therefore we're still right there within that target. In regards to our top 10, of course, is that unrestricted, which is that state school fund, and our taxes are about almost 2.6%, which is down. I think last year this time was about 2.7. Our tuition, which is MODOC, Plush, Adel, I've only done the first quarter of billing, which is $117,000. Again, remember MODOC is we got quite a few kids coming from there. Restricted interest on our investments, which is your LGIP, is about $34,000. Miscellaneous is the catch-all, about 22. Prior year, a couple of things are happening in there, which is our SAFE dividend and our PACE, newly acquired PACE dividend. Those were all in there, and we've received those. Penalties on interest and taxes are only about $18,000. Let's see. Any questions on the revenues? Okay. We'll move on to the expenses. Overall, we projected about a 44% expenditure on our actual year-to-date. That's salaries, benefits, the whole 9 yards. We're right about 42%, so we're a little bit below what we projected. That's not a bad thing. As far as salaries, and benefits is that we projected out at 48%, we're right at 46%, so pretty well on target there. And what this means over here is all other objects are consumables, durables, etc. Anything but the salaries and benefits, we projected 41%. So we're below at 39%, which means they're shopping well, or they just have not purchased all of their stuff just yet, which is probably not true because we're well into it. So moving over. So your top 10, salaries, benefits, retirement, the PERS, Social Security, all of that is in the top 10. This is year to date, so this is the full year to January 31st. Apologize. Textbooks we've purchased is at 58,000, so we're well below what we budgeted. So they did well there. And then computer hardware, we've dumped about 53,000 into more hardware computer wise. So that's our top 10. Any questions on the expenditures? Moving on. So this is our month-end fund balances. We did start the year off at 1.528. The blue is our current year. So moving along across here to January, I'm just a little bit below where I was at last year. So I'm at 3.3 million. Last year we had 3.4 million, so we're not too far off. Going down through here, it's anticipated would be about 1.1 million, which is where I like to be anyway. And it'll just kind of depend on how May and June shake out for us as far as any salaries and or if we add on any other staff between March and June. Any other questions? Okay.
Excellent.
You good?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Unless you have questions.
Alright, old business.
Okay. So as Blaine mentioned, we're wrapped up on the ag shop. I submitted a memo so you guys kind of had the heads up of what was happening here. A couple of things. So we were at 205,000. MoDOT contracting worked really well with us to keep us within that budget. They did do an add-on thing, which was pretty much a necessary deal, which is not here. We had contingency funds for that. Was when they installed the geothermal piping, it's all exposed. And so somebody was bound and determined to probably turn the hot water on and burn themselves at some point. So they made a shield in front of it so that there's only, the teacher has the lock. They're the only ones that can make the adjustment, shut it down, shut it off, whatever the case may be. So there is that, which I thought that we went ahead and pulled that out of the contingency because I thought that was a pretty good little requirement after we got that installed and looked at it. Now Pulley Plumbing is where we're getting into a change order of the $6,452. The reason behind that is they had prior plumbed that through the walls in anticipation that the manifolds would be here. Well, that was pre-MoDOT contracting, so we had to go in, pull what we had. They had to pull what they had out and realign to the new manifolds, which the manifolds that they did find for us was actually a better price. So that we came out there. So really they only got us for some labor charges, and then there's 5% on MoDOT's because they carry all the insurance on the subcontractors. So that's where our overages are in regards to the 205,000 with the contract with MoDOT. So what I'm asking for is an okay to go ahead and pay on that 6,400. Or if there's any questions.
Any questions for motion?
Is that the end of it?
We're done. Yeah, we're done. Yeah.
I move to approve the ag welding shop and small engine shop change order as
We moved and seconded to approve the ag welding shop and small engine shop change order as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries. New business.
Mr. Thompson is here to talk about the ESD service plan. So, Mr. Thompson?
All right, thank you. It's my annual presentation. So you all have the local service plan in front of you, I believe, on your board book somewhere.
Page 18.
Page 18. Just first few things on the on our little flow through chart here. A few changes since last year. Brianna McLean, she has received her education and her certificate, and she's now an SLPA. She was just an instructional assistant this last year, so we're really happy to get her through school and get that done. Sammy Sharp, she was on maternity leave for half a year, and she is back, so that's, I guess it's not a change, but she's here. Tiffany Roberts, she is our speech and language pathologist, and she is a traveler. She has worked out very well, and I've had conversations with her about possibly staying on for next year. In fact, we had a staff meeting this morning, and I requested all my staff to start putting pressure on her. So it's public, so you're welcome. You're welcome to put pressure on her too, Susan.
I have.
Yeah, so she's working out really well. Very pleasant lady. We have Elena Bradbury, which you met, and she's our district liaison with ODE. You don't have any interactions with, but Kylie Dozer, she is a new employee since last year. We lost our educational assistant there. And then right now you probably have missed, if you had any interactions with the ESD, Taylor Heilman. She's been on maternity leave. She's back March 8th, and we are waiting with bated breath for her to get back. Because yeah, the other day I missed this meeting with Northlake and Paisley, and I blamed her and told her it was her fault because she didn't remind me to go. So anyway, so that's basically the only differences in our employees. So if you turn the next couple of pages, on page 23, you have my letter, and I won't read the whole thing to you there, but I will say some things for next year. We will have a change in the autism services for the districts in the county. Right now we're using regional services, and so they are consultation only, and they'll come down, do some testing, and they'll just kind of talk to people about what they could be doing with the kids, but that's about as much as we get out of them. And so Sammy Sharp, she finished up her autism schooling this year in the fall, and so she has her license endorsement for an autism specialist. She's been shadowing the regional Rowan, the regional autism specialist from the Southern Oregon ESD, and so she's getting lots of training that way, some firsthand information. And she's going to be attending some additional trainings this year and some additional shadowing of Rowan for the rest of this year, and then she'll take that over for next year. We started a pilot program this year for nursing services, and we hired, what do we do, 10 hours a week? It was 10 or 8 hours a week for nursing services, and that has gone very well. I know that District 7 has used a lot of the time for the nurse. She's able to come out and help with students, help with training of staff if they need training for administering of medications, those kinds of things. And she travels. They've been available throughout the entire county. In fact, I think next week she's going out to Plush and Adel, doing some training out there. So it's something that's really been beneficial. I don't think it's been enough. And so under the direction of the superintendents in the county, we're looking at increasing that for next year so that we will have more of her time. Hopefully we'll double that. So changing the county deputy clerk for Adel, we hired Chandra Cahill for that position. So if you need to get a hold of the Adel for some reason in that capacity, that's now Chandra. It's no longer Mary Woodward. So I already talked about Elena. So we may be hiring on an additional F.25 FTE to replace the FTE that Sammy is currently going out to Union. And if she becomes the autism specialist, which she is, we won't have that person out there. So we may have to hire a 0.25 FTE special ed teacher. But my understanding is that there may be the possibility that you're getting an additional special ed teacher at the elementary. So if that transpires, then we won't need to do that because you'll have the additional FTE that way. So anyway, I have to plan for my scenario, and if you guys do something different as a district, then we can make those adjustments. So we now have what's called a regional educator network. I don't know if you've heard anything about that. The state plugged in, I believe it was $6 million into the state that was for these regional educator networks. And we are Lake County, Harney County, Wallowa County, Grant County, and those counties, there's representatives from each one of them, and they're coming together and determining what type of professional development or what the needs are of the different in our region. So rather than every single district trying to figure out what their teachers need, they're trying to do it on a more global scale so that we can maybe get some better training. We can afford to do something better with teachers and that kind of stuff, and have more local or more regional trainings for our staff. So that's a new thing that's happening in the state, and it's another one of those, we're building the buses, we're going down the highway. So we're not sure where that's going to end up, what they'll end up doing. So we are continuing to look for speech and language pathologist. Had the job open for 3 years, and I've had 2 positions open, but I've hired 1 last year. So my other position I've had open. So if you know anybody that is a speech and language pathologist, we are really wanting to not have to pay for a traveling person. They are extremely expensive because you are not only paying for them, but you're paying for their housing. You are also paying for the company, whoever the company is you hire from, all of their big wigs and all of that kind of stuff. So it's really, really expensive to hire that way. But right now I have no choice. So if you know anybody, we're still trying to fill in that position. So again, just so that everybody knows, the ESD, our legislatively mandated areas include support for students with special needs, instructional and curriculum support, technology support, and administrative and support services. One way in technology support that we supported your district this year was your elementary principal bent my ear, and she was very sweet and asked for a Chromebook and set of Chromebooks and a cart, so she got that this year. But we're trying to support, when we have the funds to be able to support with technology that way. We also pay for with the halftime of your technology people. I think she's at the high school, and that kind of stuff. So we do all of these things, but it's I keep telling people I love my job because I get to be Santa Claus all the time, and all I do every day is try to figure out how I can help the school districts and what they need and what I can do for them. So if there's any other questions about what's in the local service plan, other than that, nothing's really has changed from last year. We're still providing the school psychologists. We're still providing business services to some of the districts, those kinds of things. So, yeah. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but if you have questions specifically, I'm happy to answer them. So.
Thank you,
If not, then we just ask for a request that that you would approve this tonight so that we can move on and have a job next year. So, all right, thank you.
I move to approve the 2020-21 Lake ESD local service plan as presented.
Been moved and seconded to approve the 2020-21 Lake ESD local service plan as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
9.2 leadership planning retreat.
Everything?
Yeah, material is nice.
So you have my memo in the packet, and we didn't go last year, but we'd like to go this year to Sun River to do some planning and some kind of team bonding. Again, we have done this trip in the past, and it's been really beneficial. And so I asked the kids about doing something like this, and we just talked about it again actually in class, and it's something that they are really looking forward to. So I don't know if you have any questions about it.
Place at the Sun River or just a house in that area?
It's a house.
Is it the Miami Vice house?
I don't think so.
Have you been in Miami Vice? The house is ski team always rented. You know, it's totally like
Pink
Tubbs
and-
and Crockett looker come right.
Teal.
Pink, teal, and black and white.
This house seems fairly normal.
Okay.
How many people?
There will be right around 20 of us.
Mr. Louis going as a chaperone, correct?
And is this be, how's it being funded?
So we have some district funds to use, and then some of the pieces we will use. Actually, I just wrote it down. Use some of the fundraisers that we've done throughout the year that our leadership class specifically has done. And usually we just put those in the kitty to use for whatever comes up, and so this is one of those times.
Any other questions? Good motion.
Move to approve the 2019-20, but is that right? 19-20 leadership planning retreat as presented.
Second.
So moved and second to approve the 2019-20 leadership planning retreat as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 9.3, resolution number 1, classified employee appreciation week.
Just as stated, next week is Classified Employee Appreciation Week, and Board Appreciation Month, Certified Appreciation Week, and Classified Week, we always read an official resolution in honor of the week and honor of the group that we're honoring and celebrating. Where I start off, there are a crucial bunch of people in this district, from our bus drivers to our custodians, to our cooks, to our paraprofessionals. They're a very essential part of this district. So I can't say enough as far as how much I appreciate the good work that they do. And it's an honor for me to, recognize their week next week. I believe we have some activities, throughout the district we're going to be doing for them. I'm going to take out some items out to them on Tuesday to deliver to each and every one of them. And Candy's taking care of me on that, bless her heart. And, so anyway, I'll go ahead and kick in with the resolution here. Whereas education of youth is essential to the future of our community, state, country, and world. And whereas classified employees are the backbone of our public education system. And whereas classified employees work directly with students, educators, parents, volunteers, business partners, and community members. And whereas classified employees support the smooth operation of offices, the safety and maintenance of buildings and property, and the safe transportation, health and nutrition, and direct instruction of students. And whereas our community depends upon and trusts classified employees to serve students. And whereas classified employees with their diverse talents and true dedication nurture students throughout their school years. Now therefore, be it resolved that Lake County School District Number 7 District Board of Directors proclaims March 2nd through 6th, 2020 to be Classified Employee Appreciation Week. And be it further resolved that Lake County School District Number 7 Board of Directors strongly encourages all members of our community to join in this observance, recognizing the dedication and hard work of these individuals. Accepted on this 26th day of February 2020.
Very good.
I'd be happy to make them cookies, but I don't think you'd all be appreciative of it when they're all on and sick at the same time. So
I move to approve resolution number 1, classified employee appreciation week, March 2nd through the 6th, 2020, and extend our appreciation to the great work that they do for the school district.
Second.
been moved to approve resolution number 1, classified employee appreciation week, March 2nd through 6th, 2020, and extend our appreciation for the great work that they do at Lake County School District number 7. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Mr. Kale, any comments?
As is.
And
Now
next,
we're
there
doing
will be no.
announcements.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Announcements.
Now go. Just on your consent agenda this evening, the resignation of a very special individual in this district. She, of course, is sitting in this room right now. And I want to say how much she is going to be missed, how much you've been appreciated and the hard work you put in this district, Ruth Ann. She has worn a lot of hats in this district. She's been, and you can feel free to add or subtract from the list I'm going to read off here. Say, she's been an English teacher, a social studies teacher, a personal finance teacher. What else?
Avid teacher,
Avid teacher,
Basketball coach.
basketball coach, student body leader.
union president, student, when I had to fill in 4 months 2 years ago on the principal gig, we were at a lot of activities together. The amount of nights that she stays out, for the benefit of our kids is just amazing and unsurpassed. And with that, Ruth Ann, thank you for your wonderful service to this district for the last 15 years. So that deserves a round of applause.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lakeview really saved me. My first year was in Las Vegas and it was rough. And so when I had the chance to come to Lakeview, it was really just a blessing. And so I've been more than happy to give my time and my energy to Lakeview.
Where are you headed to now?
The Medford area. So in personal finance, we're working on resumes and cover letters, so I'm working on mine. And so, yeah, it's hopefully something new will turn up that maybe doesn't require quite as much of my energy, but the last 15 years have been wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next board meeting agenda items.
Well, actually, another announcement. I sent an email out to all of you today. Janet and I talked yesterday, and initially in the board calendar, we had canceled the first meeting in April due to parent-teacher conferences and conflicts with that. We find ourselves in the need of another first April meeting. We can make a special meeting, and the two specific issues we need to address would be the superintendent search. I'll let Janet speak to that. If there's anything that you know of.
Well, I sent you guys an email a couple of days ago with however you guys want to do your review committee. He needs that within the next couple of weeks, which I think I mentioned that. So Barry, you can respond to him or you can make it public in public meeting. But remember on April 1st, he was going to call a special meeting anyway. And so that doesn't look like that was panning out with the dates that was given to me by you guys and Tandy and for baseball and various other things, I think. So somewhere in there, we'll have to figure out a special meeting anyway to keep you guys on track with your superintendent search. So it'd be best to roll that stuff in with that if we can.
So the board can't meet on April 1st. Is that what?
I don't think so. Tandy's out for sure. I think Dustin, are you out? And maybe Corey?
I don't have that right schedule to tell you for sure.
I kind of gathered all everybody's schedules and sent it to him, and so I don't remember, but I remember April 1st was a problem.
Or it's a special meeting. It's going to be basically a 2-item meeting unless something else comes up. The other part is the SIA. I've got to have the SIA submitted to ODE by or before April 15th. So the other part of the meeting is for you to approve the SIA.
We just met the Wednesday before spring break.
that's after my 15th deadline, I think.
No, spring break.
Oh,
What day is
Well,
that? That's the 17th?
19th.
Eighteenth of March is the
That's after my deadline.
No, she's
We're-
talking about
March.
spring break.
March
March.
18th.
Oh, sorry.
And then, Jana, I got that email from you, and are we supposed to sit down and meet? I mean, he had it like different variable scenarios. How many people do we want? How far do we want them to go?
That's something you guys gotta figure
When
out.
does that
need
have to be?
do some
You
sort
want it
of
within the next couple of weeks.
meeting to even figure out what we want to do.
Can we put that on do it at the next meeting as a work session to discuss it?
You can do it however you would like.
Cause I was in the same boat, I was thinking that was probably
Well,
a discussion.
yeah, I
versus
got your email, but I thought, well, what did we decide?
We've had some requests from various people wanting to be on the committee. And kind of need to discuss that as a board. Who we wanna, how many people,
So do we have a meeting on the 11th?
who.
Yeah.
Well, he cautioned for us not to pick any, right? So,
Well, there's a couple that are gonna be specific. And we can discuss that then.
Sure.
So it's 18th work for everybody?
I'm gone the 18th, I'm in California.
So
But
we
I'm
got
here
the
the
meeting,
11th.
so we got two different issues here. We got a meeting 11th that I think we need to get.
So can
A
we do a
work
work
session
session to
for-
deal with the superintendent?
We can do that if that's what you would, I mean, we can just schedule that for the 11th. However, do you have policies for the 11th?
Yeah.
because we could do it.
Can you push off?
Or can we just make a little longer work session and carry our regular session at 5:45 or whenever our work session gets done?
You have policy work session, adjourn in regular session, then come out of regular session into another work session.
Right.
You have to start your regular session at 5:30.
You do.
That's
But we've done that before, we've done the work, regular and then the work.
and then go back in.
So how long is the policies gonna take?
Probably not very long.
Not very long.
Because
Probably usually we,
15
last two we've
minutes.
been wrapping
Probably.
around about 15
Well,
minutes.
usually, I mean, but like last time, you guys had quite a bit of edits, and so actually, our last work session on policies was 30 minutes. So it just depends.
but we could change our meeting start time to 5:45.
No, we can't do that.
You have to
You
start
have
your
to
regular
stick
session
with
at 5:30.
bylaws.
Public law.
What do you?
It's in.
If we announce it, we can change it. We have 2 weeks until it happens. I don't think there's anything set in stone that our calendar has to be followed.
But
I'm pretty
we
sure
can't
if
announce
you
it.
established, time you established your board meeting calendar and your meeting time, back in July,
But
Well,
we
we
can
could
public
do it
days
right
and we add
after
days
public
all the
will.
time.
I'll get your public meetings law, but public meetings law basically, your OSBA states that you have to stick with the time.
I'm good with, work session, regular meeting, work session.
it's going to be the
That's
same
perfect.
amount of
Yeah.
time we're here.
Well, then I would suggest putting the policies at the end, the second work session,
That's fine.
because then if we come to an agreement, or kind of narrow down our.
Yeah.
Do we have to decide on it, do a vote on it?
We need to get, we have to vote on it, yeah. For-
On,
shouldn't have.
Don't we just have to send him
Talk
what our
about the
guidelines
screening
are?
committee?
I think so. Why don't I circle back around with him tomorrow and then can I shoot you guys an email
I haven't
tomorrow?
looked at the email, sorry.
I guess
I
that's my
saw
only
it, but I had
thought is to do that
questions.
first in case we have to vote on it.
Let me relook at his
We
calendar.
can do that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
I didn't look at the email.
We don't wanna slow down
It
the
was a couple of
superintendent
days
search
ago.
by.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, I'll go look for it. And then second and all.
Okay, let's go back and talk about the other special meeting. What are our thoughts on that
For April 8th,
for date, for me,
April 8th, or,
April 8th?
or
At this parent-teacher conference, but it's basically a 2 agenda item meeting and
It wouldn't be very long,
it
and
wouldn't be very long.
we wouldn't need all of the admin here either.
We don't really need to be here, do we? The plan's gonna be
I
complete.
don't
You're
think
just,
so.
you're
So-
just approving it, right?
No, yeah,
If the board's all in agreement to just go for the normal April 8th date, then that would be a pretty good thing.
What are we discussing there?
It should be short.
Continuation of
SIA.
superintendent search as needed, or approval, you talked about approving this committee, that'd probably be the venue to do it in, or the meeting to do it in.
I would guess that.
Well, don't we have to finish up
And
the SIA
The
thing?
approval of the SIA, yeah, those are the two items.
I will be out of town on
And you're out of town on the first.
but I'm here the 31st. Where's the second?
Could we do it the 31st? Tuesday?
I am not here that first.
Monday.
How about the 7th? You're still gone.
What about the second, Thursday the 2nd?
Are you here on the 30th?
I'll have to try to look.
Thursday, second, looks good for me, I don't know how much the rest of us.
It'll work for me.
I'm here.
So we're thinking Thursday.
At 5:30.
It should be short, right?
Hopefully it will be, yeah, my part should go pretty quick.
16-year anniversary.
We can try to do most of the prep work for the superintendent search probably. I'm gonna guess that.
On the 11th. So then the 11th, we're gonna be March 11th. We're at
That's
5.
right.
Yeah, 5 o'clock.
So select this, we'll put this as an action in that meeting that you're approving a special session that we're gonna officially roll out to the public.
Good.
Okay, so the second, 5:30.
April 2nd.
Okay, perfect.
That puts me one more day in Bend, Oregon on the first. Ready? Anything else? Where we at?
You are at
Announcements.
announcements.
Yeah, we're done with that. and-
All right, now
I
we're ready
move
for
we adjourn the meeting.
Well, the
we have next board meeting.
Oh,
I thought we just went over that in that special
we did.
meeting approval.
We did,
meeting.
that was an announcements.
We got one in between meetings, March 11th.
Okay, next board meeting agenda items, please.
Well, we'll get that OSBA policy update and an agreement, and we'll put it to the second work session after the regular meeting. Lonnie handed out that Healthy Turkey Team survey to you, that physical copy, so be looking at that and bring questions that night. Your superintendent search will continue, if there's anything related to that. I have an agenda item that I'll be bringing an MOU, thanks to Dustin Lane, approving the use of Boulder Canyon as a natural resource land lab for Lakeview High School. So that's going to head to the town of Lakeview for approval first, and so we need an official board approval on that night too.
And we'll approve that calendar with edits. Under
Yes.
A with edits, and we'll also approve our contract renewal for our teachers.
That too.
Now we're ready for,
well, wait, are we gonna add the survey, because that will be our last meeting before the
Conferences,
conferences.
before these
Yeah, we have that ready. Sent it to you earlier this week for feedback. Get me feedback by Friday. And, they'll get it. I'm pretty darn sure.
alright, anything else for next board meeting agenda items?
okay, back to. I move we adjourn the meeting.
There's a second to adjourn the meeting, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Who's